The NFL draft is in just a few days, and now it is time to reveal the mock draft that Sam and I were working on. I will admit there were some surprises in there. However, it was something that we were both happy with, and this is how it works out. This could be a very interesting first round. Now, no trades. We do not do trades with our mock drafts, so keep that in mind. Let's get into it. All right, and let's get started with, of course, it's going to be Mendoza. Come on. I'm not going to surprise anything. No, no, no. I'm not going to do anything like that. It's Mendoza. We all know it's going to be Fernando Mendoza. The only question is going to be, do the Raiders have enough for him to succeed as a rookie? That's the biggest question with this pick. Now, with the Jets at number two, this is where the draft truly starts. And to me, it's David Bailey. All right, the Jets defense needs a lot of help. And getting David Bailey, who put on a show at the combine, that will go a long way. Now for Arizona, I've got another defensive player, Arvell Reese. Reese is a guy that could be taken second overall. He is one of the top prospects in this draft. If Arizona takes him, they'll be happy with the pick. Put him anywhere you want to. You can put him at linebacker, put him at edge, do whatever you want to do with him. Now, Tennessee, this is where it does get interesting. Jeremiah Love is often mocked to them here. The only issue I have is Tony Pollard was a 1,000-yard back last year, and yes, he's on the last year of his deal. And they do say a young quarterback's best friend is a running back. However, Tennessee needs more weapons. Yes, they did get Wan'Dale Robinson, but Calvin really had the worst season of his career last year. And I'm looking at Cardinal Tate. You can't go wrong with drafting an Ohio State wide receiver, and they need weapons for him. I'm going with Tate. Might shock some people, but that's where I'm going. With the Giants on the clock, they need offensive linemen. All right, they have to protect Jackson Dart, and that's going to be Francis Maui Noah. All right, he's the best offensive lineman in this draft, and people are calling him the safest player in this draft. Now, where does Cleveland go? Look, Cleveland, we know the issue with quarterback, but Mendoza's the only one that really has a first round grade on a lot of people's boards, including mine. So what do we give him? Well, might shock some people. How about Mekhi Lemon? Jerry Jeudy is a really good receiver, but he doesn't really have that complementary piece to him. And if you get Mekhi Lemon, there's your complementary piece. I think Browns fans would be happy to have Lemon as a duo with Jerry Jeudy, and the Browns offense was not good last year. All right. Plain and simple. They were not good, and they need to add some weapons at receiver, and they need offensive line help. With Maui Noah off the board, Mekhi Lemon is the pick here. Now, Washington, Sonny Styles. Just Sonny Styles. Bobby Wagner left in free agency. They need somebody in the middle of that defense. Why not get Styles, who was the linebacker for an Ohio State team that won the national championship 2 years ago? And you can't go wrong with Big Ten linebackers. You just can't. Moving on to the Saints at number eight, I'm going to go Ruben Bain. Ruben Bain, this is somebody that at one point we thought could be the second overall pick in the draft, but his postseason has not been great, to say the least. The short arms at the combine, he didn't work out, and they're concerned about will his skills translate to the NFL. But at the end of the day, he was a great player at Miami, had so much production for them. I just feel like this is a player where you're number eight for New Orleans and you need somebody next to Chase Young. I would just take him. Cameron Jordan is still a free agent. You could bring him back, but you need somebody to be able to get to the passer. Ruben Bain got to the passer a lot at Miami. Now we move on to the Chiefs. It's Manzier Delane. All right. They trade away Trent McDuffie to the Rams. And this is not the pick that they got from McDuffie. Keep that in mind. This is their original pick. So they're going to use this pick to get Delane, who will replace McDuffie as the number one corner. Could also go Caleb Downs, but the need for a number one corner trumps the need for a safety. They do need a safety, though. Brian Cook did leave in free agency. So I wouldn't be surprised they do go Downs, but I just think Delane fills a bigger need at this point. But speaking of Downs, he's not going to wait too much longer because I got the Bengals taking him. Downs might be the second best player in this entire draft, but we all know the issue with safeties. They're just not a quote unquote sexy pick. That's why Kyle Hamilton, who was a top five prospect, fell to the Ravens at number 14, and the league is still hitting themselves about that, letting a player like him fall to Baltimore, and he's the best safety in the NFL. Downs, I don't think they're going to make the same mistake twice. They're not going to let a player like Downs fall out of the top 10, especially for the Bengals, a team that really needs defensive players. This is too easy for me. Now for the Dolphins, Spencer Fano. Spencer Fano, they need help on the offensive line. Fano, you could put him at guard to start off, move him to tackle, whatever you want to do. The Dolphins need to have offensive linemen to protect Malik Willis. And yes, the wide receiver is there. You could see Jordan Tyson there, but Fano, I think, is the higher ranked player, and you have to protect. It's that simple. You just have to. But now the board kind of screwed the Cowboys because all the edge players are gone, which they need after trading away Parsons, and the top corner is now off the board. So what do they do? Well, Stan Sadiq. Why not? I mean, why not? Cowboys are always looking for that next star. And Kenyon is very interesting as a tight end. Now, there is a question as to whether he can be a true tight end at the NFL level, but with the measurables that he has, if you find the right way to use him, he could be a big weapon for your team. And with the Cowboys, I could definitely see them taking him and seeing what they can do, seeing if they can put some magic with him along with Dak Prescott. I could definitely see that, especially since the board just didn't work out that way. But with the Cowboys, more than likely, we're going to see them try to trade up to get somebody like a Delane or one of the top edge rushers in the draft. Don't be surprised if that happens. The Cowboys are definitely the first team that is probably looking to trade up. Probably the biggest team looking to trade up. We're going to move on to the Rams. And keep this in mind. This is the pick that they got from Atlanta when Atlanta traded up to get James Pierce Jr. last year. The Rams' first round pick that they traded to the Chiefs was their original pick, which we'll talk about later in the draft. And right now, they have a needed tackle. Monroe feeling right now is the best tackle on the board. This is right around where probably he's going to go. I think this is just easy pick, plug and play, day one, looking like a good one. For the Ravens, I got two suggestions. One is Jordan Tyson. The other is Vega. I know a lot of people would say it's going to be Vega, plug and play, day one starting guard, worst guard duo in the NFL last year. And I do understand that. But what's making me cautious to make that pick is the whole Tyler Lindenbaum situation. The fact that, yes, they took him in the first round. Yes, he grew to be one of the best centers in the NFL, but they didn't pick up the fifth year option because it was going to be too much. And they lost him in free agency. That's why the offensive line was the way it was during free agency, why they had to make so many moves there. Plus, you have John Simpson, who you signed in free agency, Emory Jones, who you took in the third round last year, that showed some promise. I feel like the Ravens might wait to take a guard, especially since a lot of times their interior guys come later in the draft, third to fifth round. That's really when they take their interior guys. I think they're going to wait for that. And I'm just going to go Jordan Tyson. Get another weapon for Lamar. And yes, the injury history with Tyson, that is a big talking point. However, I just feel like with the receiver position and with what the Ravens want to do, you got to take chances sometimes. And I think this is a risk worth taking. Now, for Vega, he's going to be taken by the Buccaneers. They have a need on the interior of their offensive line. Definitely feel like plug and play, day one, might be top five guard in 3 years. Now we go to the Jets at number 16. Will they be bold enough to take Ty Simpson as their quarterback of the future? Absolutely not. And the top player is Jeremiah Love. I know he's falling. I will get to that later. But the Jets are not taking him. I mean, they just signed Brees Hall. But how about Dylan Seaman? All right. I mentioned that defense was horrible last year. They did not have a single interception all year. Did not have one interception. That just shouldn't happen. Dylan had six as a freshman when he was with Purdue before he got to Oregon. As a freshman at Purdue, he had six interceptions. That is definitely going to help this defense. And for the Jets, the defense needs as much help as they can get. It's going to be interesting to see what they do at the quarterback position. They could be one of those teams that trades back in the first round to get a Tyson, or just wait till later and see who's available in like rounds 3 or 4. That's going to be an interesting one to keep an eye on. Now we move on to the Lions. For the Lions, I'm going to go Akeem Mesidor. And the reason I'm going Mesidor is because they need somebody to complement Aiden Hutchinson. They don't really have that complementary piece to him. And getting Mesidor, I feel like that's a good complementary guy. He complemented Ruben Bain so well at Miami. That's why he's a first round talent as well. Get him with Hutchinson. Yeah, I think that'd be a very, very good pick for them. All right, I'm not fooling around. Jeremiah Love is going to Minnesota. Yes, Aaron Jones is still on the team. However, he's 31 years old. You have Jordan Mason, who's pretty good backup, pretty good guy to have on your roster. But when you have somebody like Love, who best running back in this class, top 5 talent, I feel like you gotta take him. I feel like you have to. All right, Carolina's up next, and the board kind of doesn't favor them right now. The top tight end is gone. The three receivers are gone. They could take somebody at receiver. I mean, Omar Cooper Jr. is the next possible guy. So is Denzel Wilson. I just think it might be a little too early for them. So I'm going to go a little bold here, go to the defensive line and get Caden McDonald. They could use some more guys on that defensive line. Derek Brown is amazing. And you have Bobby Brown and Warden, who both are very solid players. But adding in McDonald, I think that would really help a defensive line. Add some more depth on there, and you can never have enough defensive linemen when you're talking about football. You can never have too many. Now we're going to move on to the Dallas Cowboys. Jamon McCoy is probably a top 10 pick if he doesn't tear his ACL and misses all of 2025. All right. Cowboys need corners. Take a chance. Take a chance. If you hit on this pick, you're going to get a very, very good corner. Now is when the draft starts to get very interesting with somebody like Ty Simpson. This is probably the first logical spot that you could have for the Steelers. It's, yes, they probably want to win now, and I would understand if people would just think they're not going to be looking at somebody like Ty Simpson. However, the quarterback position, they just have not had a long-term answer there since Roethlisberger was gone. All right. Kenny Pickett was a disappointment as a first-round pick. They tried veterans like Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, and Aaron Rodgers. And more than likely, Rodgers is going to be back next year. However, look, they got to get this quarterback position figured out. Simpson has a very high ceiling. And I think if he can learn from a quarterback like Rodgers for a year, sit him for a year, then let him be the starter, I think you could really find a good, solid option at the very least at the quarterback position, which is just what the Steelers need. I think you let Ty Simpson sit for a year behind Aaron Rodgers, then let him take over in 2027. You're going to get a guy that's going to quarterback you for a decade. And that's what you're looking for when you take a first round quarterback. I think the Steelers need to at least give that thought. All right. They got to figure out the future of that position. And this might be the best chance to do it because we all know the Steelers just are never bad. And you're talking getting the second best quarterback in this class. And I know this quarterback class isn't that great, but Ty Simpson definitely has the upside of an above average starter at the worst. At the worst. I think it's worth taking. Now we're going to move on to the Chargers. The Chargers, they need receiver help, and Omar Cooper Jr., he helped Indiana win a national title. Okay. And the Chargers, like I said, they need receiver help. He now is a free agent. They lost Mike Williams before the season even began last year. He retired. They definitely could use guys there. I think it's just an easy pick for them. Now for the Eagles. Well, Chargers took their guy. Probably would have gone Omar Cooper where they are. However, I think getting Blake Miller might be good for them. You have Lane Johnson, who's been a wonderful right tackle. He's probably going to be in the Hall of Fame someday, but he's in his mid 30s now. All right, his career is going to be coming to an end soon. You need to have somebody to take over. Getting Blake Miller, there's your future at tackle. All right. I don't think you can go wrong going with help on the offensive line. I just don't think you can. Now we're going to move on to the Browns' second first round pick, which they got from Jacksonville when Jacksonville traded up from 5 to 2 to take Travis Hunter. So what could they do? Well, I'm going back to offensive tackle and I'm taking Caden Proctor. Cleveland needs help on the offensive line too. You can see there, guard and tackle. And they get the receiver. Now they get help on the offensive line with Proctor. Put him in probably day one. He'll be a starter, be a solid guy for you. Cleveland needs help. Okay. This offense needs help. They desperately need help because that defense was elite last year and they were still struggling because their offense couldn't do anything last year. Just get good offensive players. That's where Proctor is, a good, solid offense tackle. Can't go wrong with that. We're going to move on to the Bears. Look, they need safety help, and Emmanuel McNeil Warren is still on the board. Okay. I think it's too easy. It's too easy. Just take McNeil Warren, plug him in as your starting safety, and you'll be good to go. For the Bills at 26, Matt Milano was gone. They need somebody else at the linebacker position, and CJ Allen is available. I think too easy of a pick. I would do this in a heartbeat. Get somebody to lead your defense. That's going to be Allen right there. For the 49ers, Keldrick Falk. Too easy. Falk, probably the best player on the board, and they could use help at the edge, rushing the quarterback. This is just too easy of a pick for me to make. For the Texans, this was also kind of an easy one for me. Will Anderson just got a huge contract extension. Add some more pieces to help free him on the defense with Peter Woods. I think you put him in and he'll do good things for you. I don't think Woods really had the season that a lot of us expected him to have, but he still had a very solid year. I'd be happy taking him with the 28th overall pick. Now, for the Chiefs, they need help rushing the passer. Chris Jones is not going to play forever, and George Karlaftis, as good as he is, needs somebody else to help take the pressure. So let's go Cash Patel from Texas A&M. Texas A&M, they got a first round bye for the college football playoffs, and Hal was a big part of that. Taking him 29th overall. Remember, Karlaftis was a late first round pick as well. I think they got him either 30th or 31st, something like that. So another one that might just work out for them. For the Dolphins, this is their second pick, and they got the offensive lineman Infano. Now let's go get the receiver, Denzel Boston from Washington. And this is the pick that they got from trading away Jalen Waddle. Yes, I know you're trading a receiver for a receiver. We know what happened when the Eagles traded for A.J. Brown and the Titans got a first round pick and they took somebody that was not good for them. They took Traylon Burks and did not work out. I understand that. But you need receivers. Okay. And Boston is the best receiver right now. For the Patriots, that offensive line needs help. So let's go with the kid from Arizona State that you can put in. You have Will Campbell as your left tackle, put him at right, and these two can be an effective duo for the next 4 years. And now we move to the Seahawks. I know they lost Kenneth Walker, and at the running back, you are looking at the other Notre Dame guy, Price, who has been mocked to them often. However, I don't think they're going to go for the running back right now, but there's a pretty good corner here with a brother that is really good on his own. Look, AJ Terrell's amazing, and now I think the Seahawks get his brother, who is very good on his own as well. And that's my mock draft. I know I kind of rushed through it, but I was just so excited to get this done. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Where do you think I'm right? Where do you think I'm wrong? Let me know your mock drafts in the comments. And as always, be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.